Good morning. It's Sunday, June 3rd, and got some good news. Um, there was a fundraiser, or has been some fundraising that have been going on, and I'm talking specifically of uh, Todd Engle and the Wooten memoII. He needed to raise $10,000 in order for his attorney to have that unsealed. I don't know exactly how that works, but I took it at face value. They needed $10,000. I want to give kudos to Pete Santilli, Grill and Media Network. They pushed us over the top. At least it looks like it. At the time that they were getting started, I think they were somewhere around a little over $3,000. And correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not going to give exact numbers here. And the last I checked, it was well over $9,000. And there was a lot that was still coming in before the show shut off. So kudos to Pete Santilli and his show and what he did. Now, why is that so important? Well, you know, you're all familiar with Larry Wooten memoII and all of the disclosures, which showed the Brady violations that had taken place, the Engle violations that had taken place by Judge Gloria Navarro's court and by the prosecution led by Steve Myrie. And so it got dismissed with prejudice, which means they can't bring it back, though they're trying. All right? That was really amazing stuff that came out of Larry Wooten memoII. Now, since that time, we learned that there's a Larry Wooten memoII. And at the time, when the case was dismissed with prejudice, the first case was dismissed with prejudice, I should say the last case, the people that are involved there, of course, were Cliven Bundy, his sons, and Ryan Payne. Cliven personally told me that he wanted this to go to trial because there's so much more that needed to come out. Now, what is all that needs to come out? Everybody's been very, very careful that knows about it. They're not talking about it. And, you know, when something's in discovery, if they seal it, if you get caught talking about it, you go to prison. Okay, so I understand people's the reason that people are being tight-lipped about this. So, but we got to get it out there now. We got to get Larry Wooten memoII before the public. They've got to see it. So this was a big step in accomplishing that. The little I hear about, which isn't really anything, is that it's huge. It's a bombshell. And so, you know, if you compare it, just that information to Larry Wooten memoII, which was really huge. Wow, what is in the second memo? I can put some conjecture out there. I can put some speculation. I'm not going to. But I think everything I've heard about it is going to blow your socks off. So it's really important. You know, I think it was great that we got the $10,000. Do you think we're going to need any more money for that? I wouldn't be surprised at all. Now, people, if you want Christmas to come early, for all you patriots and constitutionalists out there, let's be prepared to divvy up whatever financial resources it's going to take to get that before the public, to get that unsealed. I really believe, just through common sense, that there are some amazing things in there. Think about this. Todd Engle was supposed to be sentenced December of last year, okay? And now it's been pushed forward to July 28th. Why? I think it's an easy it's really easy to come up with this understanding that Judge Gloria Navarro is petrified to send him again. She knows what's in Memo 1 and 2. I should say 2 and 1. And that this could come back on her. I mean, there's 30-something Brady violations, like a half a dozen Gigolo violations already. Those Gigolo violations fall on her just as much as anybody else. And so, you know, she's got this pressure on her from the deep state, Harry Reid, people like that, even Jeff Sessions, to find these men guilty somehow, some way. Set an example by sentencing one more of our patriots, namely Todd Engle, to some ridiculous time behind bars. So she's really between a rock and a hard spot. And I think that she probably wants this unsealed so that she can just say, I can't sentence Todd Engle. Okay, there's been too many Brady violations and Gigolo violations here. So it behooves us all to get this out. The timing is, I think, will be excellent. There's other reasons why I want it out. One is we have Ryan Bundy running for governor, who is a strict constitutionalist. And this will be a heck of a shot in the arm for him. No doubt about it. We have on the Democrat, we have a bunch of people who run for governor. There must be a half a dozen people. The person that seems to be in the driver's seat of this whole thing is this gentleman by the name of Sisolak. Now, Sisolak has come out and he has said, for the record, that he is for gun confiscation. All right? And so this guy, this is the last person we want in there. We also know that Sheriff Lombardo is running for re-election. Could you imagine those two, Sheriff Lombardo and Sisolak, if they both won? This is how bad this is getting. It's getting really bad. If you look in California, there and some of the other states, like Washington, they're already actively confiscating weapons. That is the line in the sand for me. I don't know what the line in the sand is for anybody else, but the fact of the matter is, when you have been disarmed, you are going to be subjected to any number of atrocities. They could just, once you're disarmed, look what's going on in Europe. Look what's going on in England. Those people are disarmed. And you got a bunch of crazy Muslims that are running around, raping children, raping the women, beating men up. You got all these no-go zones. That's what happens when you are disarmed. That's what they want to do here in America. And here in Clark County, Nevada, we can see this, I can see this starting to come together. And again, we need to be, when you have a clear and present danger, in the military, you never get yourself in a compromising position. You never let the enemy get the high ground or get you in a crossfire or anything of that nature, and especially when you have a clear and present danger. Well, that's where we're headed here in Southern Nevada. We're headed in a clear and present danger. And, we're going to be compromised. Now, everybody that's ever been in a militia, or let's say this, anybody who's at the Bundy Ranch standoff, did you know there are 630 people that the federal government has all their information on, that they were called unindicted co-conspirators? Yeah, 630 people. Do you think the federal government's going to get rid of that information? Hell no. Here in Clark County, Nevada, we are what is known as a fusion center. Now, what that means is local law enforcement has combined with the federal government, all right? And they're basically following federal government guidelines. And this has really gotten bad because of the Patriot Act. Well, the Patriot Act is what the federal government guidelines goes by nowadays. That's why you have all this asset forfeiture crap. It just gets worse. That's why you're guilty until proven innocent. That's why the courts have been putting people in prison, indefinite detention. That's why. They won't come out and admit it, but they're following the Patriot Act very, very closely. So what's going to happen, if you get Lombardo as the sheriff, and that Sissel act as the governor, that's worst case scenario. What do you think they're going to do? Okay? As soon as these laws are passed that he supports, and by the way, the state of Nevada is a blue state now. Used to be a red state. You got all kinds of liberals that are in office. They're going to pass, guaranteed, they're going to pass gun laws, gun confiscation laws. And at that particular time, everybody who has been in a militia or is in a militia, and I'm going to go back to what I was saying, anybody who has ever had a hunting license, member of the NRA, anybody who was at the Bundy standoff, anybody that protested on behalf of the Patriots out in front of the federal building. I mean, the list goes on and on. They got your number. Don't think for 1 second they don't have your number. And you will be first priority to pick up, to make an example out of. When you look at law enforcement today, they follow war tactics. When you get pulled over, you can't get out of your vehicle, can you? Okay, they take your information, go back. You show up on a database as somebody didn't turn in their firearm. Okay, you show up in the database as on a domestic terrorism watch list. Guaranteed, all 630 people on a domestic terrorism watch list. It's been tested multiple times. All right, you were on that watch list. When you get pulled over and you show up, they're going to find something. There's over 3,000 new laws every year. You can't leave your house really without committing at least a misdemeanor and probably a felony. All right? So this is just primed to start picking up the Patriots, former military veterans. That's high on the list too. So that's what you got to face. That's what's going to happen if these people get in. Now, we can, we can vote, get off our butts, and go vote for somebody like Ryan Bundy, who is a strict constitutionalist, and get him in office. We can vote and hopefully get a better sheriff, all right? But what happens if we don't? What happens if these men get elected to office? Then you have got to really start doing some serious thinking. We got to start, and I can't stress this enough, but we've got to start coming together in Southern Nevada and Clark County. And we've got to come up with some sort of means and methods of protecting each other. All right? You got to start thinking that way now. Before, you don't want to wait until the last minute when they're running around picking everybody up. Guaranteed that's what's going to happen. If you hadn't noticed, well, Jason Chaffetz here, probably 6 months ago, came out and he made a statement on Fox News that things haven't gotten any better. Things have gotten worse. Now, I'm not blaming Trump for that, but I will tell you that the embeds from the past administration, mostly judges, but the FBI, CIA, we see what the FBI is doing. They're still there, and they're not changing. They're not changing one bit. So don't expect, just because Trump is the president, that these violations of human rights, constitutional rights, are going to stop. They're not going to stop. We've seen it. He's been in office over a year now. Excuse me. Nothing has changed. There was something that, to me, in some ways, epitomizes that. But up in last week in New Jersey, out there at the beach, there was a young gal. She was 20 years old, and she was just sunbathing, and her aunt, if I got the story right, her aunt left a closed bottle of beer. It was closed. It hadn't even been opened. And this cop comes up, beach cop, which to me is not much different than a friggin' mall cop, and starts harassing her. And she's trying to explain to him, that's not mine. So she takes the breathalyzer. She passes the breathalyzer. Okay, but that's not good enough for this cop. And she's getting frustrated. She walks away. And what does he say? I'm going to drop her. Let's stop right there. Let's think about that. This punk kid, cop, says, I'm going to drop her. That tells you all you need to know about his mentality. You know, it used to be that men wanted to protect women. It used to be that men would be somewhat enamored by an attractive young lady. But you know the scripture, I don't know the verse and chapter, but it says, in the last days men shall not have natural affection. Not only does he decide he's going to arrest her, but he gets her on the ground and beats her in the face. Okay, something really wrong with that. Men, to a great extent, have lost their natural affection, and you can see that even with the people standing around. Nobody lifted a finger to help this little girl. If I'd have been, I kicked him in the face. Yeah, I would have kicked that sumbitch right in the face. Okay, yeah, you have all these men standing around doing nothing. People, you're a bunch of lemmings. You know, it's all yours, a bunch of lemmings. You're getting picked off one at a time, and eventually you're just going to run crazy and just jump off the cliffs. You're not doing your God-given responsibility to love your fellow man, to protect your fellow man. Okay, that's all inclusive. That includes women too. You're not doing it. You're not doing nothing. There's so many bogus laws on the books. And if law enforcement watch you, they got you. That's one of the most important things you got to get in your head. This thing's all prepped. It's all prepped. Okay? And, you know, the blue coats will do their job. They say it over and over and over again. I'm just doing my job. I'm just doing my job. Okay? Somehow they seem to think their job is to abuse their fellow citizens. You know, it says to protect and serve peace officers. They're the furthest thing from it anymore. On occasion, they protect and serve. But like I said before, all the wrong they've done, it take 100 years or longer to make up with good deeds. And they're not going to make up with good deeds. They're just going to do their job. And they're on an ego trip, and they get this adrenaline rush. You see how they are. They get somebody down, and they all want to kick him in the head, even when he's handcuffed. And it doesn't matter, he's innocent. We see that all the time. Do you think those are isolated incidences? Hell no. I've been watching this go on in Southern Nevada for years. These guys get away with murder literally all the time. Okay? Their buddies will cover for them. The police unions will cover for them. And the judges will cover for them. Okay? So, that was a good example of what I wanted to talk about. And I took some notes here, but I think I covered them already. The last thing I do want to talk about is Dwight and Stephen Hammond. The president, POTUS, seems to be in the pardoning mood nowadays. Okay, then you know what? We need to call the White House and say, what's up with this? Why isn't Dwight and Stephen Hammond... Dwight and Stephen Hammond should have been the first ones pardoned, okay? And right now, honestly, I think a lot of these pardons are really politically motivated. You know, he is sending a message to those that might testify. Man, you know, if they find you guilty, don't worry about it. I'll have you out in no time. Same thing with Sheriff Arpaio. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's well within his prudence. He can do that. Did I say prudence? Jurisprudence? Anyhow, he can do that. So, all right, you can do that, Donald Trump, President Donald Trump. Don't mean any disrespect there. You can do that. Well, how about Dwight and Stephen Hammond, where I know you've had hundreds of thousands of messages to the White House for these people. That is the greatest miscarriage of justice, one of the greatest miscarriages of justice in the 20th century, 21st century. Now, how about, okay, now that we're on it, how about Schaefer Cox? Those FBI agents, see, that's why I hate FBI. You know, there is no rank and file that you can trust, because that was rank and file that set Schaefer Cox up and put him in jail. How about Jerry Winehouse? That was rank and file FBI that shot him in the head. Thought they killed him. All right. Okay, they're the ones that shoot at him and everything, and then he goes to prison for what, 30 years? This is exactly how these federal judges work. This is exactly what Gloria Navarro was saying on the bench. If the police officer can see a firearm anytime you're exercising any of your rights, First Amendment, Second Amendment, primarily your First Amendment rights, if you are exercising your Second Amendment rights, you have assaulted that officer. That's exactly what happened to Jerry Winehouse. Jerry Winehouse went to recover his computers that the FBI had stolen from him illegally. Okay? And there's local law enforcement there also. So he gets them. He's got a firearm. And the FBI agent says, "What are you carrying a firearm for?" "Well, why do you carry him for?" FBI agent shoots him multiple times, shoots him in the head. And because he had a firearm on him, according to people like Gloria Navarro, he assaulted that police officer. So he gets 30 plus years in prison. Wow. You know, that thinking is so convoluted. I can't even put it into words, how bad that thinking is. It defies any legitimate reasoning. It is some sort of mental gymnastics to cover their ass to make their point. And while we're at it, another one of my pet peeves is the circular reasoning. You know, if you have a child and he's constantly doing circular reasoning, you'll point it out to him and straighten him out, because that's a form of mental retardation. Circular reasoning is. All right. There's other names for it too, but it is a form of mental retardation. You can't get anywhere with circular reasoning. Now, nowadays they arrest you for resisting arrest, but the Supreme Court has ruled numerous times that you can resist an unlawful arrest even to the point of using deadly force. Okay? And this is one of the other little tricks that they pull. Quit resisting. How many times have you watched it? Quit resisting. They're beating the hell out of the guy on the ground. Quit resisting. Okay? Oh, he's going for my gun. Shooting. I mean, this is so friggin' bad. And they've been hiring basically murderers that love this stuff. They really enjoy this. This gives them an opportunity to shoot and kill, to do whatever they want to do, to enforce any ridiculous law, and they will enforce them. So people, this is what we're up against, and this is where we're all going, and it's not getting any better. Okay, so you need to start making some plans, doing some thinking about the future, and especially who you're going to vote for. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Have a great Sunday.